People that are going to make it in the future, the people that are making it today, let me share something with you. History is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination. That's important. It's not a hotel. Please do not sleep in your office. And I said, excuse me, sir. I said, I just work long hours in creating my business. I'm an entrepreneur. And right now things are bad for me, but they're not going to be this way always. And I just asked for the opportunity to continue to operate like I'm doing. I'm not trying to make this my home. And it was hard coming through the lobby. And sometimes they would laugh. There's a guy talking about becoming successful. And look at him. He's bathing in the bathroom upstairs on the 21st floor. He sleeps on the floor. Him and two other dreamers up there. Look at him. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen, coming to speak to people. And I was facing financial difficulties in my own life. I was behind on my bills and my dreams, and I'm saying to them, you can live your dream. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen. It was very difficult to pick myself up each day believing that I could. By continuing to push forward, by continuing to run toward my dream, that one day I would have my own talk show. It's a long shot, ladies and gentlemen, from Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor, never knowing my mother or father. It's a long shot. Being here with you today in this dome in Atlanta, it's a long shot. No college training, labeled educable, mentally retarded. But I kept running toward my dream. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop running toward your dream. It's very important as you hold on to that dream. There are moments when you're going to doubt yourself. There are rough times that are going to come, but they have not come to stay. They have come to pass. It's very important for you to know that. Don't say I'm having a bad day. Say I'm having a character building day. It's very important for you to believe that you are the one to make this happen. I remember this high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington, at the end of school one June, it was just a few days before we were supposed to leave, and I just got my report card, and it indicated that I'd failed history, and I'd failed English, and I would have to go to summer school. And I was feeling within myself that I was a failure, that I'm slower than most people in getting paperwork, and I was feeling down on myself and very negative. And Mr. Washington was giving a speech to the graduating seniors, and I was in 11th grade. And even though I wasn't supposed to be in there, I went in there because the speech he was giving, that speech was for me. And as he talked, my heart began to beat fast. Tears began to run by my eyes, and I was in the back just listening to him, because he said, and he was a very dramatic man. I still talk to him to this day. He said, as graduating seniors of Booker T. Washington High School, I want you to know that you're blessed and highly favored, and that as you go toward the future, begin to know that you have greatness within you. And if just one of you here begin to envision yourselves as being blessed and highly favored to reach your goals, if just one of you capture the essence of what that means, that you have greatness within you and a responsibility to manifest that greatness, that you can make your parents proud, you can make your school proud, you can touch millions of people's lives, and the world will never be the same again because you came this way. And the students gave him a rousing standing ovation. And as he left the auditorium, I ran down the steps and I caught him in the parking lot. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, yes. I said, do you remember me, sir? He said, no. I said, my name is Leslie Brown. My mother, she works in the cafeteria here. I'm one of the twins, Leslie and Wesley. I said, Mr. Washington, but you know, I got these big dreams. I like talking to people. I love people. I said, I want to work with people, and I got this dream of buying my mama a home. Could I do that, Mr. Washington? He said, it's possible, Mr. Brown. And as he walked away, I called him again. I said, Mr. Washington? Called him to tell him to tune in. And he watched the program. He called me in Detroit, and I answered the phone. And I said, hello. He said, may I speak to Les Brown, please? I said, who's calling? He said, you know who this is. I said, oh, Mr. Washington, it's you. He said, you were the one, weren't you? I said, yes, sir. He said, and you were so crazy. I said, I know, but I'm rich now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be easy. It was hard laying on the floor of the Penobscot building, looking out of the window, daydreaming, saying, Les, can you do this? Can you make this happen? I used to listen to tapes day in and day out about See You at the Top, my great friend Zig, and Dennis Waitley, and different other motivational speakers, and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. what's going to make you unstoppable, why you must be unreasonable, because logical, practical thinking says you can't do it today. But if you want to produce unreasonable results in your life, like living your dream and taking charge of your destiny, you've got to be an unreasonable person. You've got to be an uncommon person. So write down the reasons of why you're here. My first major goal was to buy my mother a home. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. What will reasons do, Les? Nietzsche said, if you know the why for doing, you can endure almost anyhow. What do you mean by that? If you know why you're doing something, when the hard times come, and they're going to come, when the disappointments and the rejections come, and they're going to come by the truckloads, your reasons will be your rod and staff to comfort you, to pick you up. Once again, I got a saying on one of my tapes: if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Let your reasons get you back up. Thank you, Lord. No one ever could have convinced me that this could have happened to me. And she looked at me and she said, Leslie, and you caused me so much problems as a boy. You were always into stuff. She said, no one could have convinced me that day when I walked in that house and this lady was holding you and your brother. And she said, ma'am, I want you to promise me two things. And she said, what is it? She says, one, promise me that you won't separate them. She said, I want them raised together. I want them to know each other. I got pregnant while my husband was away in the war, and I can't keep them. Promise me that you won't separate them. She said, I promise I won't. I've never had children. I promise I won't separate them. And she said, promise me that you'll never tell them about who I am, because if my husband ever found out, he would kill me. She said, I promise. And she said that she gave them to us, and she kind of cried, and she was walking out the door, and she looked at my adopted mother. She said, remember, don't you separate them. She said, I swear to God, I won't separate them. I'll keep them together. And she said, as I held y'all in my arms, I never had any children of my own. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew with the help of God, I would do it. And ladies and gentlemen, my mother had a dream of having children and raising us. She didn't know how she's going to do it. Make your dream become reality. The people that are running at their dreams know that it's possible. keep on running because they're saying within themselves, I'm the one, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. The people that are running after their dreams are the people that are hungry. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. And as you run towards your dream, I want to dedicate this to you that I love very much. I want to thank Dexter and all of you. It's something that I'm known by. It's on our tapes called Choosing Your Future, and it says simply this, that if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish or gulf, sickness or pain or body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it.
Today, I want to talk to you about your goals and your dreams. I want you to think about something that's important to you. Maybe it's a personal goal. I know in my own personal experience, my goal was to be able to buy my mother a home. I'm adopted. And so I wanted to be able to do something special for my adopted mother. She was a domestic worker for wealthy families on Miami Beach, and she cooked for these families, and we ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. And she kept the children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she kept. And you could imagine as a kid, I used to say, Mama, on the way home on the bus from Miami Beach back to Liberty City and Overtown, I said, when I become a man, I'm going to be able to buy clothes for us and buy groceries for us. But not only that, I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful home, just like the homes that you clean every day. And she said, Leslie, you don't have to do that. I said, I know, but I'm going to. And you know what? The reason that I said that, I believe that it was possible. See, the family that Mama worked for, Mr. Sidursky used to listen to motivational messages every day. And I was very fortunate to have to take care of the needs of Mr. Sidursky. Had to shine his shoes and dust his office, and he was very rude to me. He said, Leslie, especially had guests, did you clean this? Yes, I did, sir. Look at it, how can you say that? I do apologize, sir. And his guests would say, don't talk to him like that. That's not nice. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't clean the office as good as I could have, okay? And the reason I did not is because I wanted him to call me into the office so I can spend time doing it over again as I listened to the motivational messages that he listened to every day by Earl Nightingale. I can remember as if it were yesterday. We become what we think about. All of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. I can hear the voice of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. Don't allow your negative thoughts to hold you back. You are greater than your circumstances. I can remember when he was listening to Zig Ziglar. If you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. I can remember as he is listening to Jim Rohn, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. And unbeknownst to me, those messages, they're programming my mind. And it helped me to begin to develop a mindset of possibility. I want you to think about your goals and dreams of what you want to achieve on a personal level. Mine was to buy my mother a home, to take care of her. What is your goal? What's your dream? What is something that you want to do with your life? And I can say to you, based upon my own experience, and I don't even know you, that it's possible. That you have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. And your mindset is crucial as you look at your goals and your dreams and having a spirit of optimism. I had a friend who went to New York City to apply for a job, and she came back and I said, hey, how did things go? She said, I didn't get the job. I said, what happened? She said, they turned me down, but I didn't think I was going to get it anyhow. And I thought after I left her presence, Well, why did she go in the first place? She went there with a mindset that she was not going to get the job. I believe that we have an energy and a spirit about us that people telegraph that. But I believe that had she gone there, there's no guarantee that, hey, with a sense of expectation, I'm going to get this job. I think her preparation, her attitude, and her behavior and her energy would have been totally different. I'm reminded of two little boys who were in Philadelphia, and they were playing on some ice, and they got out too far, and one fell through the ice. And he was thrashing, trying to get out. And obviously, his friend looked at him and panicked, and he couldn't reach him, he couldn't pull him out. And so he saw him going under the ice, and it was very hard, and he couldn't break through. And so this little frail fellow ran, he saw a tree in the distance, and he scrambled up this tree, and he broke off a big branch and came back and savagely began to beat the ice, and he broke it. And miraculously, he saved his friend. And when the paramedics came, people were looking at him. He had a blanket around him. This little puny dude, about 12 years old. And people started asking the question as they looked at him and they looked at the branch. How could this little small fellow break this branch off and beat this ice and break it and save his friend? How could he have done that, as small as he was? And as they were scratching their heads, a gentleman who was there said, I can tell you how he did it. And everybody said, how? And he said, there was no one here to tell him that he couldn't do it. See, a lot of people are not really living their dreams and living the kind of life that they are capable of living because of the fact that they have been inundated with so many negative conversations. Have you ever had a goal and dream of something you wanted to achieve and you shared it with people that you love and thought they would be excited for you, and they said to you, you can't do that? You know, MIT did a study, and the study indicated if I tell you, you can't do that, somebody else has to come along and say, you can do it. You can do it. Don't listen to him, Ruby. You can do it. John, don't listen to Les. You can do it. They have to say that 17 times before they can neutralize that one time. That's why my favorite book says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And so by listening to those motivational messages every day when my mother went to do domestic work on Miami Beach, it began to give me a sense of optimism, of the possibilities of the kind of life that I can live. And I'm saying to you, as you listen on a regular basis, as you begin to program your mind deliberately, the reason that most people don't achieve their goals is because they are thinking like everybody else. 16 revolutionary words. Be ye not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's an ongoing process. What are your goals? What are your dreams? Earl Nightingale was right. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. And so you want to take the time every day to listen to things that can help to program your mind positively, because at the end of the day, if you don't program your mind, it's going to be programmed. Trust me, it's going to be bombarded with all kind of head trash, commercials. I was at a service station pumping gas and a commercial came up. I mean, you get on the elevator and commercials are there. You look at billboards, their messages is coming in, over 5,000, 10,000 messages on a regular basis. And so as you look at your goals and dreams, it's very important that you are intentional about controlling what goes on in your mind, because everything gets in through the eyes and through the ears. So, what do you want? What do you want for yourself? What I'm doing right now, I didn't do it for 14 years. You know why? Because I was suffering from possibility blindness. Have you thought about doing something and you looked at what you wanted to do and your heart said, I could do that. And then your mind asked, how? And then you start thinking, well, I can't do that. I don't have a college education. I can't do that. I don't have an MBA or a PhD. I can't do that. I've never worked for a major corporation. Why would corporations reach over people with PhDs and MBAs and years of experience and pay me to come in to do something I've never done? I thought about doing this for years, and I talked myself out of it. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Shakespeare says, therefore, dear Brutus, it's not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. And so as you look at yourself and look at your goals and look at your dreams, I'm saying to you that it's possible. Because if anybody at any point in time had a goal, had a dream of what they wanted to achieve, and they made it happen, then it's possible that you can do it too. But you've got to be intentional about programming your mind. So here's some things that's very important. I want you to hold in mind what it is you want to do in your personal life. What is it that you'd like to do? Maybe you want to do something for someone you care about. That was the goal and dream that I had. And I purchased 4 different homes for my mother. And I want you to think about your financial goal. You know, people say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves. I have a friend named Rita Davenport, and Rita said, you know, money can't make you happy, you know, but it's right up there with oxygen. And I agree with that 100%. So as you look at your goals and dreams, I want you to think about your financial freedom number. What does that look like? That once you achieve that, it will alleviate a lot of stress. Once you achieve that, you have more time for yourself and for your family. You can go on that dream vacation you've been thinking about, or buy that dream car or home that you desire. Once you earn that amount of money, it would be like becoming debt-free. I want you to think about your financial freedom number. And then once you come up with that number, and I want you to write it down, as you come up with that number, I want you to multiply it 100 times. Yes, 100 times. Read my lips, 100 times. Why? Because I found that most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss, no. Most people fail in life because they do what I did for a major part of my life, aim too low and hit. And most people don't aim at all. That's why there's a saying that if you don't know where you're going to end up someplace else. And so you are serious about your goals and dreams. I can say to you that you've got to affirm yourself, you've got to tell yourself, you've got to encourage yourself that it's possible, that you've got to talk to yourself on a regular basis. I'd never forget, I had to speak in the Georgia Dome for a friend of mine, Dexter Yeager. And Dexter Yeager is a multi-millionaire. He makes over $1 million every 17 hours in this organization that I spoke for. And he invited me to be his guest speaker, the headliner, before 80,000 people in the Georgia Dome. I panic. And the first thing happens when I become afraid, I have to go to the bathroom. So I went to this bathroom and they came knocking on the door. Les, the band is stalling. You need to come out. And I said, okay. And I was talking to myself saying, I can do this, I can do this. My mind went blank because I became overwhelmed when I peeped out front and saw 80,000 people in this stadium. It was the largest gathering I'd ever seen like this. I've seen it for sporting events, but for a speaking event, I'd never been in that kind of environment before. The most people I've ever spoken for up to that time was maybe about 500 or maybe 1,000, but 85,000. I went to the bathroom 7 times because 7 is my favorite number. You know, I'm one of 7 kids. My social security number is 267. My phone number is 702. Did I tell you my favorite number is 7? God made the world in 7 days. Naaman dipped himself in the River Jordan 7 times. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Did I tell you I went to the bathroom 7 times because 7 is my favorite number? Well, finally, they got Mike Williams, my mentor, and he came and he knocked on the door of this portable restroom. He said, Brownie. And I said, yes. He said, come out. I said, Mike, I'm scared. I can't think. He said, are you afraid? Admit it. I said, yes, I am. I'm nervous. I just can't do it, Mike. I'm scared. He said, Brownie? I said, yes. He said, are you listening to me? I said, yes. He said, They came to see you. You didn't come to see them. You got this, Brownie. You can do this. Wow. Let me tell you what he did. One of the things I do is train speakers how to change lives. What he did was he distracted me. I was caught up in how big the crowd was. I was caught up with saying, what can I say to them? I was breathing hard. I was feeling overwhelmed being in that setting. And when he spoke, I knew that he believed in me. When he spoke, it's like he saw me on stage speaking, and he convinced me that I could do it. See, sometimes it's very important for you to hear this. Sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And so when I looked at myself and I looked at where I was, what I said to myself, Mike believes in me. He believes that I can do this. And I'm saying to you, as you look at your goals and look at your dreams, one of the things that's important in maintaining an achievement-driven mindset and a spirit of optimism is having someone in your corner, having someone who believes in you, having someone who can see what you can't see. See, sometimes you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. That's why it's very important for us to have coaches, people who can encourage us, who can inspire us. You know, Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest, but he never won a championship without Angelo Dundee in his corner. People say that Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all times, but he never won a championship without Phil Jackson as his coach. And so as you work on yourself and work on your dreams, I'm suggesting that you get someone in your life that you can partner with, someone that can see what you can't see, someone that when you feel you can't make it, someone when you feel I can't do this, and they can give you a word of encouragement and will make all the difference in the world.
People that are going to make it in the future, the people that are making it today, let me share something with you. History is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination.